I know that's been brought up for a couple years now, and I don't know if there's been any move towards that. But that was the best place we found to put it, was there in the countywide department. So
Does anyone know what has happened to the momentum in that? I thought we were gonna have that done this budget year.
I don't. What are you thinking?
Well, it seemed like it was a hot, go ahead, anyone else?
Hadn't heard a thing about it.
I mean, I question the importance of it if we budgeted for it and we were looking at cards and then it's just vanished.
And I know HR and IT were, kind of in conversations together about it with you in past years. But I don't know if
Also-
somebody took ownership. Yes, sir.
Also, the sheriff's department.
I
Yeah,
assume.
I think they were a part of the conversation as well.
So that's the increase there. And, we can get some more answers from people on that and then adjust that if needed. The next one, that $149,000, that's professional services. So there's some money there. There's a for the Water Smart grant, we need to budget for a local match. So that's $75,000. That's something that you've already approved for the next year. There is $26,000 there for redistricting services by Michael Morrison. I know on a past agenda that was discussed as well. So there was a note made that we needed to add that in. And then RM Mays, that consulting for $48,000 a year, that was put there. After the budget started last year, y'all decided to move that cost over to the general fund and take it out of the health insurance fund. So that's why that's there this year. And then just a little further down, there's the tax appraisal services, just a slight increase, and that should match what was approved today. If you look at what was approved, they're on a calendar year, so we have to take 1/4 of the past year and then 3/4 of the next, but that should be reflected there. But since that was just approved today, we'll double check that that's all still the same. And then autopsies and body bags, we're projecting to spend slightly over what was budgeted. So we went ahead and plugged in the amount that we expect to spend this year. And I know there's been some increased cost, I think there was some testing that had to be done in addition to the normal autopsy for COVID related purposes. So we felt that needed to be increased a little bit there. So those are the increases in the countywide department.
Okay, back on that Water Smart grant on cost share, our part, or the part that's part of the grant, Dustin, will that be reimbursed by dividing the populations of all the entities and splitting that up like we did the first grant we ever did on?
Yes, sir, we will. That was discussed at that last Water Smart meeting that Tom presented at.
Right.
The entities all seem fine with that, so we'll get the population breakdown and then the auditor's office helped us bill for that as well.
Yeah, an example is the pro rata share split up with the entities, and generally the city of Waco is about 45% of that. And then Hewitt, Woodway, all the population areas or the rest of it. And then we pick up the unincorporated population for our part of it. So we won't have that total expense.
We just did like revenue. Yeah. Okay. So Haley and I were talking, and we were aware of the breakdown. The last time we had one of these, we booked the full cost and then booked the revenue in for the other entities that contributed. But we can revisit this, and like Dustin said, when we have a breakdown and know what the details are of that, we could look at that.
Okay.
Any questions on this department? A lot of the line items I think are sufficient for this year, and then we kept them relatively the same for next year. Utilities and phone and things like that. Not a whole lot of changes. For contingencies, we went ahead and plugged in 1.25 million just kind of consistent with what we did last year. I just made it that even 1.25. But if there's any other thoughts on that, of course, we can change that. We used to just keep $1 million. And there used to be another 250 for countywide road and bridge
Right,
contingencies. But we went ahead and just moved that over here. And that's how that's kind of how that progressed to get up to that 1.25 million.
Okay.
So moving on, Department 02.
And I would just mark that piece as, if we have, if we really get down to trying to find dollars, that's maybe a discretionary number to modify some, but we just need to talk about that. So if we,
Department 0210 is the district attorney.
Before we go too much further, I just wanted to add in that countywide, at some point in time, we need to look at putting a line item for county bridge replacement.
Yes.
Because I know there's
So,
several bridges in the county that's probably gonna have to have attention before the end of next year.
well, that's a good point. And we can circle back with Zane in the next day or two and talk about, is that $1,250,000 adequate to maybe be the piece that we dedicate, or we dedicate that piece to the bridge program?
And I'd say, and we have it on our list to get to at some point one day. And we were thinking, there's the countywide bridge department, it'd probably be the good place to stick it in there.
Yeah.
But if the list of bridges and low water crossings is really long, we talked maybe about prioritizing those with Zane's help.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if y'all want to budget, a set amount each year and then, get done what you can each year, depending on that list.
Okay.
But I do have that. We can,
All right.
like we said, we need to get Zane in.
I think if we're gonna be thinking over, it's gonna be over $1 million that we need to put in there, we may want to look at selling another bond.
Yeah. Well, and that's, we need to be thinking about what all needs to be in the 2021 bond issuance. And of course, we've got several projects that we are looking at right now, including the renovation of maybe some of the old jail space for courts or offices or things like that. So, and then like Mr. Jones saying, look at a bond to cover those, because they would be very long-term investments.
We'll definitely have Zane come in as soon as he's able to, and then
Okay.
talk some more about that. Okay, Department 0210 is the district attorney. Just a decrease of around $10,000 there. Didn't increase any line items in his operating budget. Just a drop there. So I don't think anybody should have a problem with it, but just wanted to make sure it was brought to everyone's attention.
Can we go back? I think Amanda's on. Was there questions for Amanda on the Human Resource Department? I think there was one on the funding for vaccinations. Amanda, are you on? Amanda?
I am on, yes, sir. I don't know if I have the direct answer to that question today. I don't know what the question is.
I had the question, was there a need to budget the same amount for employee vaccinations? And we didn't use any last year. Do we really need to budget the same amount this year?
If we cannot complete all of those vaccinations before the end of this fiscal year, we'll need the funds to cover that expense next year. We are trying to do that, but with all of the leave of absences we're currently processing, we have not been able to allocate time for that process.
Well, it doesn't look like you used any so far. They're just going to do them the last month or what?
Well, they have to do it over a series of 3 vaccinations, and so it takes a period of time to administer. I'm getting a lot of repeat feedback. Is anybody else getting that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm getting that too. I can't, it's just a lot of echo. Hello, anybody get it now?
It seems like it's a lot better.
No, what I was saying, man, is we're looking at wanting to keep the same, no new revenue. So each department needs to have the same amount of money as they did last year. So you've got an increase in one line. I guess the question is, can you reduce that line to make up the difference?
I guess I don't know specifically what you're referencing to be able to answer that question. With relation to the vaccinations, we have to provide the vaccinations to the employees that are wanting the vaccination. And then we have to continue to provide the vaccinations to any new employees that are wanting the vaccination. So there would be a difference. You know, our first getting everyone in compliance is a major cost. And then, you know, later on, it's a maintenance cost based on the number of new employees we have that are in positions where they would be able to receive this vaccination given the work requirements that they have. So that number would change. The reason why we are not changing it for next year is we are not sure we'll be able to administer all of those by the end of this fiscal year.
Well, if we can make a decision on the software for open enrollment, then her budget would be the same, is it correct?
Yes, so it's a net decrease. We moved that 30,000. That was just the estimate for the Electronic Benefits Administration. So that we'll move that out to the health insurance fund. So yes, there's a net decrease. I think the questions were just regarding that Commissioner Snell had were just regarding that vaccination line.
Okay.
I have a question about the note that Haley is hovered over right now. So the initial phase is underway, or has it started?
So we have tried to initiate it a few times during the course of the fiscal year, and every time it gets halted because something else trumps it. So unfortunately, you know, we have reinitiated again to get quotes with different providers, and then we're halted now because we are needing every hand on deck to assist with leave of absences to be able to sustain that and to do contact tracing, which requires a lot of time. So I just don't know, with the current workforce that I have, that I'll be able to complete this by the end of this fiscal year. I don't know that I have enough manpower to sustain our day-to-day right now.
And we'll get to that.
And, you know, if it's a question of when we're able to get to that, you know, I'm trying to think through, I think that would be a valid cost that could go into the health insurance fund, maybe.
The vaccine?
Uh-huh.
On the vaccines?
We
So-
discussed that
Maybe-
before.
Well, we had that
maybe
discussion.
that's not, of course, like I said, we're still funding that fund as well, but that would be there when needed, and we wouldn't be budgeting it every year if we didn't know when that was going to occur. Just a thought.
Well, we are out of compliance, so it really needs to occur.
Gotcha.
Well, we had intended for it to, so that's part of the question of,
What, I'm sorry, Ben, what did we intended?
well, she
What?
said that it needs to happen. We're out of compliance. And I said, well, I thought we had, that's why we budgeted. I had hoped it would be done by now, but, I guess you guys need to get together, Amanda, and figure out what, I mean, if we're out of compliance, we need to do something about it, but I would just hate to see this kind of money continue to roll over, and not be used.
It certainly was not the plan. I mean, there's a lot of things that have occurred this year that were not the plan.
That's very true.
The year that never happened.
And then I know Amanda said, needs to be done, should have already been done, but, also we could even put a placeholder there and then rely on contingency to fund that line when needed. I just didn't know if the concern was, like you said, is budgeting it every year and not utilizing it.
So I'm fine with moving it to the health insurance fund if, if it's, especially if it's going to be ongoing, where we're obviously having to vaccinate new hires and things like that. So,
When should we get a glimpse of how healthy the health insurance fund is right now?
July the 21st, our next regular meeting, we'll have that information.
Okay.
So this is Amanda.
Go ahead, Amanda.
Sorry, try not to interrupt on anyone speaking.
Go ahead.
We have been advised in the past by both our Hub International benefits consultant and legal to keep a separate budget identified for Hep B vaccinations and to not incorporate that with the health fund.
Yeah, that's what I was fixing to bring up. One thing, it's a separate population of the employees, very specific. And so, can any one group, that gets the benefit of the vaccination and the rest of the group doesn't, does it make sense to, use the total amount of money in that fund to do that when we're just dealing with one specific population? And I think maybe that's why the recommendation back earlier was to keep those separate.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think the bigger point here is we know we got a budget for it somewhere. We just need to get it done. That's a big amount of money to have, and no fault. I'm not putting fault on anybody, but that's something we need to get done, or we need to put it back and put it like you say, Francis, if we don't know for sure, then we should put $1 there. And if we implement the program and get it going, we pull the funds. If not,
So we are required to provide this to the workforce that is required to come into contact with bloodborne pathogens. So we do need to do this.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that, Amanda. It's just where to continually put that kind of money.
Okay.
We'll leave this one just kind of open for now, and then we can come back to it.
Okay.
Make some decisions.
All right.
All right. So moving forward, Department 0410 is elections. And then Kathy will be speaking with us this week, and she can, I know, shed some light on some of these, but she's asking for an increase in precinct election workers. But then down in operating, she's also asking for an increase in supplies. And this is primarily related, 25,000 of it related to COVID precautions that have to be taken, the extra supplies that they're having to buy. Furniture and equipment, there's $125,000 there. Those are the booths that if new voting equipment was purchased, the booths that those have to sit on. So that's there. We, you know, depending on what the decision on all that is, we could probably move that and incorporate that with the cost. But for now, we have that there just for discussion purposes and to have a place to stick that. Other services and charges, she has just a slight increase there of about 1,600. And then software licensing is the other increase. And then you can see that the description there, licensing fees with Votech and Hart increased. And then she says, sorry. It's really long.
Just had trouble getting it to fit on a page. And then the other part was related to ballots by mail. So there were additional scanners and licenses for those scanners that have to be purchased for that purpose. So those were her increases there. She has a large, it's $125,000 increase from the prior year just for those operating costs. Any thoughts, or we need to wait, kind of hear from her when she comes in this week?
Yeah, I think there's several things that are pending or hinged off of decision we make on purchasing new equipment. So I'd wait till
Yes, sir.
she comes in and talks about it.
All right. Department 0550 is purchasing. And they just had a decrease of $1,300. So no increases at all there, just operating costs decreased. 0580 is the county treasurer. He just had some slight increases, one being in travel reimbursement, $115. He's already doing a budget, or has done a budget amendment this year to increase it to that 315 you'll see in that second column. So he's anticipating to need that again. And then an increase in professional development, so an increase there of $1,500 from the adopted budget. Are those, it's a total increase of about $1,600. Are those things that y'all are good with, or would y'all like to hear from him?
I'm okay.
And again, I know
Yeah,
we want to
it-
keep them at their same.
If we could, yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
but I understand what he's asking for.
Mhm. Let me ask you this, kind of stop here. Any that do have increases, I mean, do you want us to reach out to those and say, hey, is there any way that you can keep it as the same as last year? And then see if there's anybody that,
But
that
he's,
can-
apparently he's over budgeted in supplies
it appears
each
so.
year. Pardon me?
It appears so, yes.
Yeah, and so, you know, you could balance it right there.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I would say if you could reach out to them and see if they could balance it themselves. If not, we can just go in there and balance it for them. But I think they all need to be given the opportunity to adjust their own budgets first, because we have got to, like I say, stay at least with what they did last year if they can't take it below.
Okay. Well, we'll reach out to those departments and then see what feedback we get. We should be able to get answers pretty quick this week. So we can still kind of go through these and just look at them and visit them. The next departments are the tax office department, starting with Department 0590. And again, I mean, do we want to go through, do you want me to reach out and not go through these one by one?
Yeah, because what we,
I mean, they have
what we may get
descriptions, right?
comfortable with now, they may change by looking
Yes,
at some other
they-
area
they
that
may.
budget from.
They may.
And was
Yeah,
anybody else?
I would just say to send them back and let them look at it first before we go and spend this time, and let's look at something else.
Okay. Well, we can do that and get some more, get some feedback on that and then bring that back quickly. Okay.
Noticed, let's see, on 19th District Court,
Mhm.
did you get a budget on them?
Yes,
19th, okay.
yes, Department 1410.
So, yeah, on 1410, so on this sheet, it's brown and tannin. If it's blank there, that means they just put it in at the same budget as last year.
Yes, and he probably moved, is that one? He moved some around. So he, like this one, he decreased supplies a little and then increased professional development. So kept same budget, just moved some money around there. So that's why it appears on that list, just because there were changes made. But
Thank you.
yes, that's a net, just zero.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, well, we will pick up the ones that have increases on the sheet, reach out, and then get back on those. Yeah, maybe we should wait and do that. Okay. Kind of shifting gears a little bit, I wanted to draw your attention to our retirement lines. There's not really anything to- So our retirement percentage that we put in per payroll dollar changes every year. So TCDRS calculates that rate, and then that's what we put into the plan to help fund that plan for the year. So last year, and it changes on the calendar year, so it changes January 1st. Last year, that percentage was 14.4%. It went up slightly because if you'll remember last year, you did the COLA for the retirees. So that increased it some. This year, our new rate would be 13.48%. So it's a little less than a percent, 1% drop. So they calculate that. It's done earlier in the year. They make lots of adjustments to it, but that's our number. However, then March and April hit. So TCDRS, and y'all may have heard from TCDRS also, that they wanted to just encourage counties just to look at that rate. And even though it dropped, to know that there has been a significant decline in the market this year. So that's probably going to pop back up in a rate in later years, kind of like we've had in the past. So I just wanted to bring that up to you and know that even though if you look at all the retirement line items in the budget, there's a decline this year, but that will probably go up later on. And they can't really tell us yet either what's going to happen, but they just wanted to make that known, and they were encouraging counties if they could to put in more to anticipate the increase in a later year. But something we could look at the end if that's something you want to consider. But I just wanted to bring that up, that our retirement rate did drop, but that was before everything occurred this year. So.
Francis, where is that reflected in the
budget?
uh-huh.
So in every department, in the top section, so Haley's got one brought up in the retirement line there, that $27,000 there, that's that percentage is part of that number. Yes, and that formula, you can see the formula at the top. So because it changes January 1st, we use the old rate for the first 3 months of the year and then the new rate for the last 9 months of the year, and then calculate that to come up with that there. And then of course that, that's what if we kept our plan the same, that's our rate. If you make changes like you did last year with the COLA, if you change, the matching rate or something like that, that all affects that rate. So that's where we get the information to TCDRS, and they incorporate those things to change that if needed. Does that make sense? Anybody have questions about that? Okay. right. Sorry, I plan on we'd go through some departments some more, but I'm gonna fill in some things. So again, jumping around, but we have a department and it is the debt service department. The- So in department, sorry, I didn't know that. In department 7910, this is our debt service payments, and this is where short-term debt payments would be funded. Has nothing to do with the bonds. This is our John Deere lease with the piece of equipment that we leased this year for Road and Bridge 4. We've plugged in, we made our first payment this year. We've plugged in the debt service payments, principal and interest for next year. But I think at that time when we went into this, we thought maybe there may be something to consider to pay that off early. It's possible to pay that off early. And we're able to do that per that agreement. But I didn't know if that's something that y'all would like to revisit or see if y'all like to pay that off maybe even this current year, if we have the funds available somewhere. But I just wanted to bring that up, that was an increase from.
So where does the
From last year.
money, what fund does the money come out of?
So it's just in general fund. We used to lease a lot of our equipment and our
Right.
vehicles. We don't have any except this John Deere one, which is new this year.
Okay,
So-
remind me, so it doesn't come out of precinct 4's, they don't service the debt on it?
So we have it separated out into this separate department. This would be on top of their normal operating costs. So that's kind of how we have it budgeted. We can move it into another department. But to me, it makes sense to keep it separated. But yes, it is a piece of equipment specifically for Road and Bridge 4.
Which I understand how you got to do that. The intent was to have it out of the budget.
Okay,
So-
and we can move, if you'd rather have that all compact in Road and Bridge 4, we can definitely move it over.
I was just wondering, I mean, is that gonna cause an issue or?
I'll get plenty more if we can do it this way.
Yeah.
No, the intent was for it to come out of our budget. Now, however, it's best for you to set it up is fine with me, but
Well, this is just, we wanted to bring it up. It is an increase from the past year because we didn't have it last year. So I wanted to touch on
Okay.
that, but then we'll move it over.
So what's the interest rate on it? Or is there, I know it's a lease deal, but it should calculate, what's the cost of the lease,
Mhm.
the lease.
I can't remember.
There's no early, you can pay it off anytime.
Correct.
Yeah. Pay it on.
No, you take your time. Haley's was gonna look and see if she could find that.
Well,
interest
so
rate
it's, the line 9's the principal and line 11's the interest.
Yes, sir.
And, so that's 49, 50,000. Oh, okay. And,
I mean, we're not earning even 1% on a lot of our money, so.
On the document we have for it, we don't have the interest rate in front of us, or we'll figure that out. We'll get
Okay.
that back to you. We can revisit that.
I would-
Okay.
I'd lean toward paying it off.
Okay. It just, projecting, we're gonna come under budget.
Yeah.
Like we normally do, so I just thought, I know we talked about that a while back when we.
So we
First-
could pay that off in the 20 budget,
Mhm,
current year.
mhm.
I'd definitely do that.
Okay,
That's my opinion.
we'll get some more info on that and bring that back. again, I apologize, I keep jumping around. In Department 3650, which is the countywide road and bridge. So this is where, we talked earlier about putting a line in there for bridges, low water crossings. I wanted to see if we had any information on those top two lines. We had some money budgeted, $20,000 total for the interlocal with MART. And I don't think there's ever been, I don't know if we've come to an agreement on how that was going to be done, the work that had to be done. We just went ahead and moved over that money that was budgeted last year into this year. But I don't know if that's something that needs to be increased, needs to be taken out, if that's sufficient. Is Commissioner Miller on? I wanted to see if there was if anybody knew anything about the status of that project.
We can ask her
Okay.
tomorrow. That's
Okay.
another one we'll come back to.
Okay. And then
I don't know if Dustin, if you have any information on that or not.
Judge, I'm looking for the interlocal on it right now, and I don't have any updates though, but
Okay,
I can check with Zane as well.
okay. We'll just hold off on the answer.
Okay. So again, that's just one, we just moved over the same budget, not knowing what was needed there for that. Let's see. So in this department, you'll see there, we just went ahead and added in a line that said infrastructure bridges. And then if y'all decided a number that would be good to put in there, we could fund it that way.
Okay.
Sound quality is much better now.
Is there would y'all be prepared today to talk any about economic development and the transfer, or have an idea of what Waco is doing for the wind?
Yes, they are, like, I think what we recommended is holding, not increasing what we've been putting in there.
Okay.
And the city is looking at the same way. There is a couple of projects that could burn up a good bit of our money, but we have ways to, we can always come back if we got a project that really makes sense to, under economic development, to fund anything that we don't already have funds available for. So
Okay.
not knowing for sure whether anything like that will happen, staying at the, how much is it?
So it's at 2.5 million right
2.5.
now.
Okay. 2.5.
So if we kept that one the same, there, so we'll add in there. On some of the outside entities, I don't know if, like, we have the Waco Sports Commission, we have the Spaceport Cultural Arts. I'm trying to think of some of the other animal birth control. Dustin and I have been trying to get some contacts and gather some information from them.
Okay.
Do you want to hear from those people that were budgeted last year the same as they usually do, or do y'all have any preference of?
Were the requests the same, or
So they're kind of trickling in. We don't have any, like, some of them have not really submitted like a technical request yet. So I just didn't know. I know sometimes those entities reach out to y'all
right?
before they reach out to us. So.
Mhm.
But if someone has a request, then we'll definitely get them to come in then, if that's,
Right.
or Zoom in rather.
So I guess a good question to ask the court is, I think the ones you mentioned anyway have long-term operational plans. And so if there's not a request for an increase, but to keep it like it was, are we okay with it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's name them again,
So,
animal birth control,
So starting with
cultural arts,
uh-huh.
sports commission.
So there's the spaceport as well, which I know is
yeah,
It's an economic
that's kind of an
development.
economic development
Yes.
piece. It's a little different than these others.
Trying to remember, last year we had the Cove, we had added the Cove last year. So like I said, I haven't had a whole lot of information come in from them yet, but
Okay.
we'll keep gathering and then we'll keep you updated on those.
Well, I'm just assuming they're asking for at least the same.
Okay.
So,
All right. We just really need departments to start coming in starting tomorrow to get through a lot of other things. I think
Do we think there will be a varsity equestrian national championship?
you know, there's no, I guess there's no way of knowing, but I forget what month that's in, Commissioner.
I can't remember what month it's in either. I think it's in the fall, isn't it? Isn't it after the,
See if I can find out.
We'll check.
after the
but,
fair?
I don't remember it being after the fair,
Or before?
but,
Maybe we could get with Wes and find out.
yeah, we're gonna find out.
It
But
was scheduled for April 15th to the 18th, 2020. So it was one of those that got,
Axed.
yes.
and so we had just at the time just projected that it was going to be spent because we weren't sure of the timing of that, but that of course doesn't sound
Right.
like it's going to happen. So
But,
So do we,
it's a different order now than it was back in, when it got axed. Now, horse shows and those kind of things, are approved. They're allowed. But, so we'd be looking at next April. So hopefully we still don't have this or any other kind of disease running around.
so we had already paid the money for 2020, is that correct?
no, sir.
No,
Didn't get spent.
didn't spend it.
Didn't spend it, okay.
Got canceled first.
Yeah, I guess in that case, why not just, well, I don't know. Put $1 on something that's event-based.
So you're talking about for next year. That was
Yeah.
saying, go ahead, not knowing.
We couldn't hear you, Commissioner.
He said something that's event-based, maybe just putting a placeholder in for it now since we don't know. how
$1.
to Continue to cancel events.
Okay.
So we'll move that. And like I said, these other entities and groups will
And the
we'll get in
city,
here.
on that particular event, you know, they match our dollars on it as well.
All right. One other thing, again, jumping around. Earlier today, you know, we had the issue come up with the JP offices, and you know, we're talking about part-time pay, and that we don't have a part-time pay line item with a placeholder in every department. So, my thought is that would be the best thing to do is to add part-time pay into every department. So when we have these overlaps of new people retiring and then a new person coming in, or they need somebody temporarily, without that part-time line, it makes it really difficult. So I just wanted to make sure y'all agreed with that, and we could just plop that into every department, and then it's there if needed. So,
Yeah, it makes sense.
so we can do that. Other than that, I hate to not have anything else today, but you know, going through the departments and then knowing that you'd like them to keep it down. I don't want to waste y'all's time going through the increases if you'd like to see if they could decrease them.
Yeah, that's what
Anyway,
I
so-
do. And then tomorrow we're scheduled for SO and elections.
Yes, elections on Thursday morning. We'll have sheriff's office tomorrow, and then we'll try to get some we'll have some other people fill in after the sheriff's office, depending on how long that takes.
Okay, and I guess if, okay, do you have anything scheduled for, besides, elections on Thursday?
Elections, and then Chip Sigmund with CSCD. He has some things he needs to talk with y'all about, concerning the budget.
Yeah.
So that's on Thursday. I believe that the lady, she's the new director with the Dispute Resolution Center. She wanted to come and speak with y'all, and I believe
Right.
she's gonna be able to, zoom in on Thursday as
Okay.
well. But breaking news at lunch, so we'll figure that out and let you know. But we'll get some of these people in today that we've talked about needing to meet with. We'll get those in the next couple of days as much as possible.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Unless y'all have anything else right now.
Okay, so we recess till tomorrow. Okay, is any of the commissioners have anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. All right, so we will recess until 1:30 tomorrow.